Alright, sup guys, it's FallinWinter, and I'm going to be doing the reverse Leopold deck profile. So we've got the starting Vanguard, Blackboard Parrot. This thing is just a grade 1 version, a grade 0 version of Coiling Duckbill, which is put this card in the soul, and you give Rigard the effect when that card hits drop zone, you draw a card. This is just a great card to plus with. You could also run the new starting Vanguard, where you counterblast one, rest the unit, and give +4 to something, but the way I'm running this deck right now, the extra +4 isn't completely necessary, so I'm trying to run it now just so that I don't... The point of this being to plus as much as possible, basically. The trigger lineup is 4 criticals, because that's pretty much all you don't have 12 stands right now, so the criticals kind of help though, so I'm running it that way. 4 stand, 8 stand, just because in this deck you want to stand your really powerful columns that you build late game. Then there's 4 heals, pretty basic. 4 of the Cable Sheep, the Perfect Guards. 3 of the Stamp Sea Otters, which cannot be retired by other cards' effects. These are just useful when you are forced to ride one of the Binoculus Tiger or the Compass Line that need to retire things, and if you can't kill, if you can choose this, then you don't minus from yourself if you have to kill something. Then you got the Coiling Duckbills, which are just really useful. If you can call like 2 of them late game when you don't actually lose anything on a rearguard space because they come back by Leopold's effect, you just start drawing in large amount of cards. Then we've got 4 Washed-Up Raccoons. The Coiling Duckbills being like the other starting Vanguard, when it hits drop zone, or when it's called to rearguard space, choose a rearguard, and that rearguard gets, when it goes to drop zone, you draw a card. Then 4 Washed-Up Raccoons, which are when this card hits the drop zone, you can counterblast 1, choose 3 grade 1 or greater Great Natures that are not named Washed-Up Raccoon and return them to deck. And you can select a card, Washed-Up Raccoon, from your deck if you still have any, and add it back to your hand. So you get to +5 off of this, because if there are still Washed-Up Raccoons, you get to search out another one. And you can return Perfect Guards or rear guards you need and stuff like that back into the deck. Also preventing yourself from decking out if you end up plussing relatively hard with the Break Ride. For the grade 2 lineup, we have 4 of the Binoculus Tiger. When it attacks a Vanguard, you choose another rear guard, and it gets +4 for, and at the end of turn it gets retired. These are just great rear guards. If you can pair these up with the Break Ride, they give +8 to a unit, which starts making really ridiculous columns. And then 3 Compass Lines, which are just 11k beaters, which at the beginning of end phase you choose one of your rear guards and retire it. If you have Leopold or one of your Stamp Sea Otter, you can get around the retire effect, and they're just free 11ks on rearguard space. Or Vanguard, which is sometimes amazing, just because their columns do not hit at all. Lastly, we've got 4 Geograph Giants. These things I run 4 just because they're really useful to ride, because you don't always have the Stamp Sea Otters, and when you can keep yourself from minusing early game, you just plus really hard end game, as long as you can get the cards you need. For the grade 3 lineup, I've got 4 of the Honorary Professor Chatnor, which is the Break Ride. The Break Ride gives the effect, when your rear guards attack, they give the ability gain +4 to a rear guard, including itself, and it gains the ability draw a card and then retire this unit. This means that for each unit that attacks that turn, you get to draw a card at the end of that current turn. It's a really great way to plus, especially in this deck. If you can swing with 2 rearguards and then hit 2 stand triggers and restand both of them, you're drawing 4 cards on top of your drive check and draw for turn. And that's not counting any of the other effects like the starting Vanguard or coiling duckbills. And then the main unit of the deck, there are 3 School Punisher Leopold Reverse. He is the main important unit of the deck because you can lock a unit and give 2 other rearguards plus 4,000, and at the end of the turn they retire and then they get called back to the rearguard space and open one. And this is just amazing because you can pump your columns insanely powerful, and they just swing for like 26, 21s and above. And if you hit stand triggers, then they just become that much more devastating. For this type of build, at least the way I'm running it right now, what I normally like to have is a Leopold Reverse on the Vanguard, of course, and any 11k, so Leopold Reverse or a Compass Line, and a 7k behind them. So you want 2 18 columns, one being your Vanguard and one being a rearguard. You can pretty much have whatever you want in these other rearguard spaces. They're not really that important in this build, since what you want to do is be at limit break, lock both of these units, and give +4 to the front row rearguard and the back row booster for Leopold Reverse. What this does is when you give these 2 units both of the effects of the 2 locked unit Leopold Reverse effects, both of these columns will be 26s. And because of all the stands, you want to swing with this column and then swing with your Vanguard, which will be both 26s by themselves. And if you hit stand triggers, this unit stands and it will be a 19, which with the stand trigger will be 24. So you will have 2 attacks of 26 and 1 attack of 24. If you hit 2 stands, then this entire column stands up and you'll be swinging for 36. It's a really powerful play, although it is a bit reliant on hitting triggers. But I like this better than some of the other builds that decide to lock rearguards in back row, just because I like my Vanguard hitting a number, just because that tends to force them into no guarding the Vanguard, which with the 4 criticals in here can sometimes mean that they lose just by the critical. Usually you want to try to push them to 5 damage though instead of leaving them at 4, just because then you make them guard everything and making them guard these large columns. That's pretty much it. It's just focused on these 2 large columns of stand trigger shenanigans. If you got any questions or suggestions, maybe other ways to make this deck a little more powerful or consistent, just let me know in the comments. That should be it for this. We should be trying to make a fight with this later on, so you can kind of see it in action to see how much it does or how heavy it hits. See you then.